You've been doing everything they told you. You've set the goals, made the plans, worked the hours, and followed the systems. You've watched the motivational videos, made your vision board, maybe even repeated the affirmations they swore would change your life. And yet something isn't working. You've followed every visible rule of success, but the results are inconsistent, delayed, or worse, non-existent. Why? Owen Hermstring answers this question with piercing clarity in The Law Behind the Laws. Success follows the visible laws only when the invisible ones are honored first. That sentence unravels years of frustration for those who've done all the right things but keep hitting invisible walls. Because what no one told you, what no book or productivity guru ever admitted, is that the deepest rules aren't written in ink. They're written in energy. And if your energy contradicts your effort, the effort becomes irrelevant. There is a fundamental misunderstanding in modern self-development. We are taught that discipline alone creates success, that hard work and persistence are the highest currencies of achievement. But Hermstring invites us to look deeper. He explains that while effort is important, it's only effective when your inner frequency, your energetic alignment, is already tuned to receive. Otherwise, you are pushing against a door that your own signal has locked from the inside. This is why two people can follow the same plan. One thrives, while the other struggles endlessly. It's not just about action. It's about the vibrational signature behind that action. You can send out emails with desperation in your chest, and they will be ignored. You can walk into a room trying to hide your doubt, and people will feel it. You can speak words of confidence, while your body whispers uncertainty, and the universe will mirror the whisper, not the words. Hermstring writes, "The field doesn't care what you do. It cares who you are when you do it." That distinction is everything. Because many people are performing success, they're mimicking the external behaviors, but inside they are terrified, ashamed, disconnected, or unworthy, and those internal states send signals that overpower any checklist or strategy. The invisible laws, coherence, congruence, integrity of self, are not suggestions. They are prerequisites. When you break them, life delays you, not to punish you, but to recalibrate you. So ask yourself, have I been more focused on looking aligned than actually being aligned? Have I been chasing the outcome so hard that I've lost connection with the frequency I'm transmitting every day? Because energy is honest. You can't fake it with hustle. You can't override it with branding. And you definitely can't ignore it without consequences. This is why Hermstring emphasizes embodiment over performance. He says, you cannot outwork a misaligned field, and you cannot call in what your frequency denies. It's a tough truth, but it's also a liberating one, because it means your breakthrough isn't behind another to-do list. It's inside the moment you choose to align your internal world with the reality you want to live. Not pretend, not perform, but actually feel and vibrate and walk with the certainty that you are the version of yourself that already has it. That kind of alignment shifts everything. Suddenly, you don't need to force opportunities. They start arriving. You don't have to manipulate people. They begin to respond differently. You stop waiting for permission because you're no longer broadcasting a frequency of lack. You're standing in truth, and truth is magnetic. So if you're tired of running in circles, consider this. Maybe it's not about doing more. Maybe it's about remembering the deeper laws that govern all manifestation. Maybe it's time to stop chasing the surface and start honoring the signal. Because once your inner frequency matches your outer effort, success doesn't just become possible, it becomes inevitable. You've been told to take control of your life, to grab the steering wheel, to bend the world to your will with determination and discipline, and you believed it. You took the courses, created the schedules, tracked your goals like a scientist, micromanaged your reality like a strategist, and yet something still feels stuck. You're moving but not expanding. You're achieving but not receiving. The truth is hard to swallow, but Hermstring says it without hesitation. Control is not alignment. It is fear dressed as precision. And suddenly the patterns begin to make sense. You've been calling it focus, but it's obsession. You've been calling it drive, but it's panic. You say you're clear about what you want, but beneath the surface, you're terrified of what will happen if you don't get it. That vibration, tight, anxious, controlling, is the opposite of alignment, because true alignment isn't anxious, it's surrendered. It trusts the flow not because it's passive, but because it knows the signal is already doing the heavy lifting. Control is seductive because it gives us the illusion of safety. It lets us believe that if we just plan enough, anticipate enough, act enough, we can avoid the pain of uncertainty. But in the law behind the laws, Owen warns, reality does not respond to the clenched hand. It responds to the open field. A clenched mind, a clenched nervous system, a clenched expectation, they block the very thing they claim to be working toward, because the field doesn't respond to tension. It responds to trust. When you try to control every step, you collapse possibility. You limit what life can give you to only what you can predict, and what you can predict is based on your past, your conditioning, your patterns, your survival programming. Hermstring teaches that control keeps you loyal to your past, not open to your future. So while you may be working harder than ever, your energy is still echoing an old identity, one that doesn't believe life can surprise you with something better. You may think you're guiding the process, but you're actually resisting it. Alignment isn't about knowing what's going to happen. It's about knowing who you are, no matter what happens. And when that becomes your foundation, you no longer need control. You don't have to chase every signal, read into every delay, manipulate every outcome. You relax, not because you're lazy, but because you're powerful, because your frequency is already calibrated to receive. That's what control tries to fake, certainty. But real certainty doesn't need control. Real certainty is energetic. It's quiet. It doesn't panic when something takes longer than expected. It doesn't spiral when a plan falls apart. It doesn't freeze when people misunderstand you, because it knows the difference between noise and truth. It knows what's unfolding can't be stopped, only delayed by your own resistance. This is why Hermstring says, you are not here to control the path, you are here to embody the signal. That embodiment creates resonance, and resonance attracts outcomes you could never control into existence. Outcomes beyond logic, beyond strategy, beyond effort. So here's the uncomfortable invitation. Let go of the illusion. Let go of the white-knuckled grip you've had on your dream, your timeline, your plan. Let go of the belief that everything must look a certain way for you to feel safe. Because the more you try to manipulate the field, the more you scramble the message. But the moment you release, not your desire but your fear, the path begins to open. Not because you forced it, but because you finally got out of its way. There's a quiet exhaustion that builds over time, not from failure but from pretending that the path you're on still makes sense, pretending that the goals you've outgrown are still yours, pretending that the version of you others expect to see is the one you actually want to be. This silent fatigue is a symptom of energetic misalignment, and Owen Hermstring gives it a name, identity inertia. He writes in The Law Behind the Laws, most people are not blocked by the world, they are blocked by the echo of who they used to be. You've grown, you've shifted, but you haven't updated your role. And this is the friction you feel. Not the world holding you back, but your old self clinging to the script. You were once the fighter, the underdog, the one who had to prove something. That energy helped you survive, maybe even succeed. But now, it's heavy, it's old, and yet, you keep showing up to the same stage, reciting the same lines, hoping the applause will still feel like truth. It doesn't, because roles are not real. They are energetic costumes, constructed identities we wear to feel safe, to gain approval, to meet expectations. And Hermstring warns us, you cannot manifest a new life while clinging to the mask that built the old one. It's not just what you say you want, it's who you're still being when no one is watching. The stories you replay, the patterns you reinforce, the emotions you suppress to stay in character. And what's worse, you're good at it. So good, in fact, that most people around you don't even notice the fracture. They think you're thriving, but inside, you feel the misfire. You feel the tightness when you wake up and remember you have to perform again. You feel the quiet dread of being seen as someone you no longer believe in. That is not failure. That is awakening. You're not tired because you're lazy. You're tired because your energy is still locked in a role that no longer fits. Maybe it's the high achiever who's secretly burned out. Maybe it's the strong one who's quietly falling apart. Maybe it's the rebel who no longer wants to fight. Whatever the role is, it once served a purpose, but now it's a cage, and you're the one keeping the door shut. Hermstring is clear. The moment your energy outgrows your identity, friction will follow until one gives in. Most people let the energy die and cling to the identity, but the ones who shift, they let the identity fall apart and step into the next version of themselves, uncertain, yes, but free. But letting go is terrifying. Who are you without the struggle, without the grind, without the narrative that made you feel valuable? That's why people resist change even when they say they want it. Because deep down, they fear not being recognized. They fear the silence that comes after shedding the role. But Hermstring reminds us, you're not here to be recognized. You're here to be remembered by your own soul. And your soul does not care about the applause. It cares about alignment, about truth, about energy that flows instead of energy that performs. That's where your real magnetism is born, not from being impressive, but from being congruent, fully, vulnerably, unapologetically congruent. So if you feel stuck, ask yourself, what role am I still playing that no longer reflects who I am becoming? Whose approval am I still chasing? What story am I repeating out of habit, not resonance? Because when you drop the act, the energy returns, the clarity returns, the universe responds, not to your performance but to your permission. And that's when the new story begins, not one built on survival or identity compensation, but on truth, on alignment, on the signal of someone who's finally ready to be seen for who they are now, not who they had to be back then. You say you want more love, more success, more abundance. You picture it, you speak it, you believe in it. And yet, when it begins to approach, when something real finally shows up, what happens? You pull back. You overthink, you sabotage, or worse, your body locks down. Not because you don't want it, but because your nervous system doesn't know how to hold it. This is one of the most ignored truths in personal growth. Owen Hermstring brings it forward with startling precision. The field won't deliver what your system still experiences as threat. You don't manifest from desire alone, you manifest from capacity. And that capacity isn't intellectual, it's somatic. It's how your body responds to receiving, not how your mind imagines it. You may say you want love, but if the last time you felt deeply loved you were also deeply betrayed, your nervous system has linked intimacy to danger. You may want success, but if the last time you were praised you were also envied, criticized, or abandoned, your body learned to associate visibility with pain. And no matter how much mindset work you do, if your body still flinches at the energy of what you're asking for, your field will block it, not because you're unworthy, but because you're unprepared. Hermstring is clear on this. What you cannot regulate, you cannot retain. You can call in a miracle, but if your internal system can't hold the emotional charge, you'll find a way to reject it, diminish it, or push it away. Not consciously, but energetically. Because safety always wins over success, the field always prioritizes coherence over fantasy. And that's where so many people become confused. They think they're blocked. They think the universe is silent. But the truth is, the universe is kind. It's protecting them from the collapse that would follow premature arrival, from the flood of unprocessed emotion that would erupt if what they want came before they were ready to hold it. This is why healing is not a luxury. It's the foundation. It's why regulation isn't just about feeling calm. It's about expanding your capacity to receive. Hermstring teaches that manifestation is not an achievement. It's a nervous system event. And if your system is still wired for scarcity, abandonment, or conflict, it will interpret abundance, intimacy, or peace as foreign and therefore unsafe. So the real question becomes, can I hold the energy of what I want to make here without shutting down, without dissociating, without collapsing into fear the moment I'm seen, touched, chosen, or celebrated? Because if you can't, the work isn't to push harder, it's to slow down. To build the internal infrastructure needed to hold more, to rewire your body's relationship with receiving, and that happens through presence, through breath, through staying with yourself when discomfort rises, instead of fleeing back into your familiar struggle. Hermstring writes, the nervous system is the gatekeeper of reality. Until it feels safe, no door will open fully. That's not punishment, that's mercy. So if you feel stuck, if you've been trying to attract something and nothing is moving, pause, not to give up, but to recalibrate. Ask yourself not just, do I want this? But can I hold this without fear, without collapse, without sabotaging it the moment it feels real? Because the moment your nervous system becomes a safe container for the energy you're asking for, the delay dissolves. The field responds not because it was withholding, but because now, finally, it can trust that what arrives will not destroy you. It will expand you. And that's the shift that changes everything. You're no longer manifesting from lack. You're receiving from readiness. There are times when the thing you're asking for doesn't come, not because it's out of reach, but because your why is out of alignment. You're visualizing clearly. You're setting goals. You've written down exactly what you want. But what no one teaches you until you read Owen Hermstring is that manifestation doesn't respond to your request. It responds to the reason behind it. And if your reason is rooted in fear, shame, ego, or emptiness, the outcome will always be delayed, or worse, it will come and collapse in your hands. In The Law Behind the Laws, Hermstring writes, "What you ask for may be pure, but if your motive is distorted, the signal is too." That line shifts everything, because it reminds you that the universe is not a vending machine. It doesn't just deliver based on words or images. It listens for energetic congruence, and congruence begins with truth. So ask yourself, why do you want what you want? Do you want success to feel powerful, or to stop feeling invisible? Do you want a partner to share life with, or to finally feel chosen? Do you want money to create freedom, or to prove everyone wrong? These distinctions matter because the frequency of your why becomes the foundation of your manifestation, and a cracked foundation can't hold a stable reality. The truth is, many people are manifesting to escape themselves, to avoid the silence that follows when there's no one left to impress, to silence the voice inside that still doesn't believe it's enough. And the field, sensitive and intelligent, can feel that desperation, that hunger not for expression, but for repair. And Hermstring warns, desire born from fracture only recreates the wound. So what happens if you do manifest something from a distorted why? You get the job, but the anxiety remains. You find the relationship, but the same insecurity resurfaces. You receive the money, but fear of losing it overrides the joy of having it. Because energy doesn't lie. If you build from scarcity, scarcity will show up in the walls of your new life, even if it looks different on the outside. This is why some of the most successful people feel hollow, because their reality was shaped not by vision, but by compensation. They didn't create from love, they created to escape pain. And eventually the weight of that pain returns, no matter how beautiful the dream appears. But there's another path. And it starts with radical honesty, with stripping down the layers of performance and asking, if no one ever saw me achieve this, would I still want it? If I never got recognition, would it still matter to me? Those questions cut through the noise. They reveal whether your desire is anchored in soul or in story, whether it's an authentic pull or a desperate attempt to rewrite the past. And when you find a yes rooted in truth, not performance, you become magnetic, because now your energy isn't trying to fix something, it's trying to express something. And expression is clean, it doesn't pull, it doesn't panic, it simply radiates. Hermstring describes this shift as moving from need to overflow, from proving to creating. And when that shift occurs, the field opens. So if you feel blocked right now, if nothing seems to stick, don't just look at what you want. Look at why you want it, trace it all the way back. Does your why lift you or weigh you down? Does it speak from love or from lack? Because until you shift the motive, the manifestation will carry the distortion. But the moment your why becomes pure, not perfect but honest, your energy begins to clean itself. And from that clarity, everything changes. Not just what arrives, but how it arrives. Gently, powerfully, sustainably. Because you're no longer asking to be fixed, you're asking to be expressed. And that is what the field responds to with grace. There are frequencies you didn't choose, but you still carry them. They live beneath your conscious thoughts, hidden inside your emotional responses, your beliefs about money, love, your place in the world. They were handed to you without words, through glances, silence, survival stories, or the way your parents reacted when the bills were due, when someone raised their voice, or when they failed at something they once believed in. And now, even as an adult, you wonder, why do I keep attracting the same struggle? Why do I feel guilty when I finally start to succeed? Why does peace feel like something I have to earn? Owen Hermstring answers that with precision. You are not just broadcasting your desire. You are broadcasting the emotional legacy of your lineage. Until it is made conscious, it will repeat itself through you. In other words, you may be manifesting from a family frequency, not from your own truth. You may be trying to create freedom while your energy is still entangled with generations who never knew what freedom even felt like. You might be asking for wealth with a nervous system conditioned to fear it. You may be asking for love while carrying the grief of ancestors who never experienced love without pain. These inherited frequencies are subtle but powerful. You don't notice them until you pause, until you realize that your beliefs didn't start with you, that your financial ceiling may have nothing to do with your potential and everything to do with the vibration of scarcity you grew up in, that your fear of visibility may not come from personal failure, but from a family culture where being seen was dangerous, shameful, or punished. Hermstring calls this energetic inheritance, the emotional and vibrational codes you carry by proximity, not by choice. And he's clear: your job is not to carry the frequency forward. Your job is to transmute it. You are the bridge. But most people aren't aware of this. They think their blocks are personal. They blame themselves for not moving faster, for falling into the same patterns. But the truth is, you may be living in a field that isn't even yours. And until you recognize that, you'll keep repeating the loop, not because you're weak, but because energy is loyal. It repeats until it is released. So if your family believed that struggle was noble, you might sabotage ease. If they believed that success comes with betrayal, you might unconsciously shrink when things go well. If they learned to survive by hiding, you might fear your own voice, even when you crave expression. This isn't about blame, it's about awareness, about reclaiming your frequency. Because as long as you're operating on someone else's signal, your manifestation is compromised. The field reads confusion. You say you want abundance, but your cells still expect lack. You say you're ready for love, but your lineage trained you to equate love with abandonment. These codes live deep, but they are not permanent. They can be rewritten, but only if you stop pretending they don't exist. So how do you shift it? Hermstring teaches that the first step is recognition. Name the frequency, feel it, not with judgment but with curiosity. Ask yourself, who in my family lived this way? Who struggled like this? Who taught me without words that I had to suffer before I could receive, and then breathe? Because in that breath, you're creating space. You're no longer fused with the story. You're observing it, and observation begins the unbinding. The next step is choice. You don't need to fix your family. You don't need to reject them. You simply need to choose a new frequency, one that aligns with your truth, not their trauma. Hermstring puts it beautifully. Loyalty to your lineage must never cost you your expansion. You can honor where you come from without repeating what broke them. You are not here to carry their pain. You are here to transmute it into power. And when that shift happens, when you stop apologizing for wanting more, for being different, for vibrating higher, you'll feel it. A quiet release, a deeper clarity. The signal begins to clean, and the life that couldn't find you before will begin to move your way. Not because you earned it, but because you finally stopped broadcasting someone else's limits. You say you're ready for everything you've been asking for: the abundance, the freedom, the relationship, the peace. You speak the words with conviction. You visualize, you affirm, you do the inner work. But somewhere in your energy field, there's a whisper that keeps pulling you back. A voice that says, "But if I really get it, and what will I lose?" That voice doesn't speak loudly. It hides in the subtle places, in hesitation, in overthinking, in the sudden fear of visibility, in the guilt that creeps in when life starts feeling too good. Owen Hermstring writes in The Law Behind the Laws, "The field does not respond to your fantasies. It responds to your permissions, and what you do not feel safe to have, you will unconsciously reject." This is where many people find themselves stuck, not because they don't believe in manifestation, but because they secretly believe it comes with a cost they're not willing to pay. This is the law most never talk about, the unspoken fear that more will mean loss, that having love will mean losing independence, that receiving money will mean becoming the target, that finding peace will make you lazy, that true joy will be followed by punishment. These are not just ideas. They are deeply encoded emotional conclusions, often formed in childhood, sometimes even inherited. You may have watched someone succeed and get abandoned. You may have loved fully once and been hurt. And now your energy remembers. Even if your mind has moved on, your field has not. This is why your desire and your fear often live side by side. You want more, but part of you still believes more will cost you something vital. You imagine abundance, but also imagine betrayal. You picture love, but also prepare for the pain of loss. That double signal confuses the field. You're calling something in and pushing it away at the same time, not out of weakness, but out of protection. Hermstring emphasizes, you will not allow what you secretly resent or fear, and you will not keep what you believe must take something from you in return. This fear of energetic exchange is what collapses manifestations. Not because you're broken, but because the body, the subconscious, the field is loyal to safety. And if receiving doesn't feel safe, you will delay it without even knowing why. So the deeper work is not just to desire, it's to unlearn the belief that having more requires sacrifice, that joy invites danger, that visibility makes you a target, that peace means you're not working hard enough. These are myths, false codes passed down through wounded cultures, tired bloodlines, survival-based systems. And if you don't bring them to the surface, they will become the silent governor of your reality. They will set your limit, not based on potential, but on fear. But it doesn't have to stay that way. You can begin now by asking the most honest question of all. What do I fear this desire will cost me? Sit with it. Listen without judgment. You may be shocked by what arises. Maybe you're afraid that if you become successful, you'll lose connection with your family. Maybe you're afraid that if you're truly happy, it'll be taken away. Whatever the fear is, it's not here to shame you. It's here to free you. Because once it's visible, it's no longer running the show in silence. And from that clarity, a new permission can begin to form, a deeper frequency. One that says, I am allowed to receive without loss. I'm allowed to be safe and seen. I am allowed to expand without leaving anyone behind. That's the signal the field responds to. Not just desire, but relaxed, embodied permission. That's when you stop negotiating with life. You stop expecting punishment for your joy. You stop waiting for the other shoe to drop. You start receiving not in pieces, not in panic, but in wholeness. And that is when the shift finally lands. Not because you chased it, but because you finally became someone who no longer fears what she is already worthy of having. You're not blocked by the world. You're blocked by the silent agreements your energy still honors.